Welcome to the Meaningful Success Podcast. My name is Josiah Clark, and this is
Wade Clark.
That's my dad, Wade Clark. So, Wade.
Yes.
Who are you?
I'm your father.
Good. So, this is a podcast about success, specifically meaningful success, as the title implies. And we are here just to share our journey on our road of entrepreneurship and authorship specifically, as well as
life.
Yeah, life, and the pursuit of what would actually make us happy. What does success actually mean when you remove it from the context of nothing but dollar signs?
So you're saying this is about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
Oh, there's nothing about liberty. We're very much in captivity to this desk. We don't have any choice but to do this podcast. What? Oh, that was our kidnapper. He just wanted us to say hi for him. It's Gregor.
So anyways, what is this podcast about? Really, it's what Josiah just said. It's about a journey. You know, I think that for a lot of us, we are all seeking success in one form or another, but I don't think that definition is the same for me, to you, to other people. And the question really comes out to, am I successful? And I think a lot of people struggle with, am I successful? I think they also struggle with, how do I become successful?
And there's also a lot of people who struggle with feeling like they never will be successful.
Well, yeah. And even within that context is, the question of what is success really gets to be fuzzy, because a lot of times people put these measurements on it, like, okay, you've achieved some status on some list, or you've
20 under 20, 30 under 30, 40 under 40.
Yeah, you've achieved some financial goals, some you've been in business a certain amount of time, or you've climbed Mount Everest, or you've done something just really magnanimous and just huge. And honestly, I don't know that is really necessarily what success is. I think it's a lot more individual than that.
And it's also not an arrival point. Success isn't something, it's not something you attain and now you're successful, because, we all in life experience some small levels of success, whether that's a small financial win, or if it's, losing a certain amount of weight, or whatever it may be. We all, whether even things that are not measurable by numbers, experience different kinds of success.
And we also experience setbacks.
Say when you, close a deal at work and it's something you've been working really hard to achieve. You don't just take that and go, all right, well, now for the rest of my life, I'm successful because I did this thing this one time.
No, particularly not in sales. In sales, it's okay, so what did you sell today?
Yeah, exactly. It's an ongoing pursuit. Just like I would not be, as a creative, I would not be content making one creative project, be it a book or a film or whatever it may be, and then, oh yeah, well I'm successful because I did this thing one time. Like success is a perpetual pursuit, and I think that's part of why it's important that it's meaningful. It's not just about, is Ebenezer Scrooge really happy with all his money? It's not so much that. It's more, is Ebenezer Scrooge happy waking up in his his giant sock hat every night?
Well, and he had to go through revelations. Now, I mean, granted, in that book, it was, he had these 3 visits, angels or whatever those were, spirits that,
I want to
past,
go out
present,
and know
and future.
him better, man.
But he had to come to realization. And I think that our pursuit of success is a series of revelations and discovery and pursuit and change and redirection and sometimes we hear the word vision, and I think of I finally learned that the word vista, I think about the old Microsoft Vista, but when I read the definition, it's kind of like that next destination. It's like you're standing on a mountain range, and that vista is that next horizon that you're trying to attain.
Yeah.
And I think that is pursuit of success. It's that next horizon. And a lot of times we can only see so far. In fact, only see so far at any point in time. And so when we are setting about on our trip to success, it really is looking at that next vista, but being able, as you're walking down that path that you choose, to adjust and move and maybe go a different direction.
So what is it that makes success whether, that perpetual motion is a piece, right? But what is it about that perpetual success slash that, that goal you achieve or whatever it may be? What is it that separates that from, what is it that makes that meaningful success, not just success? Where did the title of this even come from?
Because meaningful means it is what's important to you. And that definition changes for every person. No two people have the same definition of what is meaningful and what is most important. Not only that, even for yourself personally, it evolves over time. What is really most meaningful, what is really most important. And so for success to be meaningful, it basically means that you're focusing your time, you're focusing your energy, you're focusing your creativity, you're focusing your efforts and your passions on those things that most matter to you, whether that's your family, whether that's, creativity, whether that's sports, whether that's your, physical health. I mean, it can be all kinds of different things to different people, but it's what are those, those people and those groups and those causes that matter most to you and those passions. I mean, I'm a musician and I love music. And so for me, success is not necessarily that I have created some new songs that are out on iTunes or Spotify that are, tearing up the charts or something like that. For me, it's just the ability to express myself musically and to be active in what is important to me. That's meaningful. I don't have to hit some kind of chart for that to be successful. I just want to make sure that I spend my life doing the things that I know matter to me and to my family.
So this podcast was born out of two things. One, it was born out of some upcoming books that my dad, Wade, has been working on for quite a little while. And the other thing was that we wanted this to be something we could do together as father and son, because we're on similar, very different, but in some ways similar journeys of entrepreneurship specifically. You've had your own business before. I've been self-employed for quite a while now. And we both have that kind of independent spirit thing where we tend to thrive most with the least oversight in a way.
Well, and we're both authors.
Yeah.
Creators. I mean, there are a lot of things that are in common, but there's a lot of things that we're different in too.
Yeah. But so I guess what I'm curious about talking about now is on that vein of here's what this podcast is about. We're talking about success. It's not just about, a number. It's what means the most to you and all that kind of stuff. So what is that to you? I know you mentioned, you love music. And think that's an example of you could be successful in your passion of music.
Yeah.
Right. But when you think of your life journey in the next, say 10 years from 55 to 65, when you look at that, are you thinking of your success journey in terms of this is a series of goals I want to achieve? Is it a status you want to attain? Not so much of like, you're the best at this, but status in terms of, the status of being a successful author, the status of this or that, right? What would that be for you if you were, because I know that there's a more ethereal, and it is specific, but there's a more ethereal behind the scenes idea of here's my mission, which is the things that matter most to me in more of a spiritual, moral belief sense. But then when you bring that down to the vision level, as you like to talk about it, and we'll get more into that later, what would that look like? What is that pursuit for you? If we were to do this podcast for the next 10 years, when we check in with our listeners every Monday, what are you updating them about?
Well, I think first of all, you're right. I mean, in the book, I actually get very specific about, what is my mission, what is my vision, and those types of things. But, this is where it gets very personal and very much an individual journey, because even in the course of the last 2.5 years that I've been writing my book, there's aspects of my vision, there's aspects of my strategy that have changed and have expanded, and in some cases redirected. For me, the things that are most important are, one, I find it incredibly rewarding to create. I like the process of creating new books and resources and tools and those types of things.
Yeah.
And so I want that to be something that's there that helps other people. For me, my wife and I really want to be in a position where we can give more and more to help others. I mean, there's specific causes and things that we believe in that are important to us, and charities and other things that we like to contribute to. But there's passions I want to explore. There's things I do want to re-engage in, things that honestly have been on the back burner for a long time, like the music. But if you were to say, if I was looking ahead, I think you said looking ahead 10 years, I mean, I think that it's not a lot of complicated things. Pursuing my own written works and creative efforts and those types of things, and this podcast and building an audience where we all kind of work together. I mean, I kind of see this as an opportunity for each of you who are listening to this podcast to let's all just go on a journey together. And the more that we can help each other on that, that's important. There are things that are important to me that are a little bit more tangible or specific, like, there may be some specific goals that we have in terms of our family and travel or other things. But really, it's being engaged in the things that allow us to contribute and create and give. But again, that shape changes. So by the time that book is published, there's going to be some things that are changing even at that point. My question would be, what about you?
The way I've always thought of my ideal successful life, like how I would want that to look. There is some material aspects, of course, like, I would want to own a house, but it's more about a lifestyle of creating, sort of what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing about the vista, where you're always looking at the next horizon.
Yeah.
A hugely influential creator to me is Brandon Sanderson, who is a fantasy author. And the part of it that draws me to him so much, even more than his actual books, is his creative lifestyle and the way that he's writing full time. That's what he does. He has all these fun side projects that are related to his writing, has his own company that employs people, and he's got a team he works with. Although these are all things that in one form or another, I've really wanted for a very long time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have pictures that we did of whiteboards that we worked out together probably a decade ago that had early stage visions of some of those things that you've been thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, this is stuff that's been in me, since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It's just evolved in what exactly it would look like, but the core fundamental things are still the same. So for me, meaningful success and what that would look like is, yes, there's a financial aspect. Yes, there's a material aspect, all these things, but It's more about, I want the freedom. It's more about, I want to be making enough money through my pursuits to have the freedom to have those pursuits be what I do and have it be where I'm investing my time and living a lifestyle that's always looking at that next horizon, because I have ideas all the time that they're always on the back burner because I only have time to work on, one thing right now. And it would be really. He
says one thing as he has like 4 or 5 interests. He does audiobooks. He does writing. He does editing. He does.
I lump all my freelancing together in my head as one thing because it's what I do for work. It's my, I've got my clients and those clients just want different things from me. Right. But when it comes to the actual lifestyle I ultimately want, it's much less about interacting with a client and more about interacting with, an audience or readers or things like that. Like, basically, I guess if I could put it in a sentence, the lifestyle part is there too, but it's wanting to make things, write books, make stories and things like that make people feel the way that I feel about my favorite media. And so that's really kind of the ultimate goal in all of that. Yeah. And everything else just sort of enables me to live a lifestyle that makes achieving that more likely.
Well, I know that since this is our first podcast, there's probably a lot of questions out there from people about, well, what can I expect from this podcast? What do we think it's going to look like? What do we think it's going to be about? And honestly, we have the same questions. But,
Yeah.
there are some things that we've been thinking about. I mean, there's a lot of people we admire and people that we are interested in their works. And so we might have some guests on to talk about what they're doing and creatively and kind of how they're pursuing success. I can see that there's times that I think that we may just attack questions that many people face. I mean, there's all kinds of battles that people are facing. Like, for example, you look at the economy, where the economy is going. There's a lot of uncertainty about the economy. And you think about things like pursuing education. Well, there's a lot of people who, particularly out of school, are asking, well, what should I be about? And then there's people who've been in their career for 20, 30, 40 years, and they're like, what is it I really want to be about? And so I think that there's going to be topics that we discover, guests that we talk to. What other things are you thinking about from that perspective?
From what the podcast looks like?
Yeah.
I think that's evolving.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this podcast for close to a year now.
And then we're just now starting to record it.
Well, we've had false starts. We've tried this a few times before.
Sometimes it's a matter of just getting started, taking that first step.
Right. And that's figuring it out as we go a little bit. And it's still evolving in my head, like I said, of what this actually looks like. I don't know. We have ideas for little segments and things like that we can do and such what. But the important part that's going to be consistent regardless of any of that stuff is this is our journey we're sharing with you. And therefore, we want you to feel free to share your journey with us as well and take part in what we're doing, what we're figuring out, the conversations that we're having.
Which is really about the pursuit of success in the first place. I mean, it's an evolving journey that you don't know what's around the next corner. Somewhat the same way with
it's
this.
like, generally speaking, that somewhere over on that horizon, that's where I want to be. But you have to figure out the path to get there. And so that's really what this is. It's a pathfinding, trailblazing sort of podcast. And we hope that you'll enjoy the journey of coming along with us for that.
Yeah. So we've thought about what are some things that we could do for fun. And one of those is just thinking about what have we seen this week that we thought was exciting or special, or we kind of call it our weekly favorites type of deal. So Josiah, I'm curious, anything happened this week or anything that you saw or anything that you got enthusiastic about?
Well, the weekly favorite.
Oh, it's the weekly favorite.
My weekly favorite right now would probably be I recently discovered Moral Oral, which is this claymation show from the early 2000s. And it's basically
MORALOREL.
Moral Oral. It's really delightful. It's about basically, being raised as a church boy. There's a lot of jokes that are very hit close to home in the best way. It's a very
So is this a podcast?
No. It's a claymation animated show from like the early 2000s. It started in like 2004.
And where do you see it? Like on YouTube?
HBO Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've really been enjoying it. I watched a few episodes with Audrey, my wife, last night, and it was really fun. You wouldn't like it.
And why is that?
Oh, because it's my sense of humor. Like, it's very much.
He's right. I probably wouldn't like it.
Right.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, no, that's not for you. But that's my weekly favorite right now. What about you?
Honestly, I've got to.
The Bible.
Well, yes, but.
Oh my God.
No, but that's actually not my. The two things that I was thinking of. One, I actually have two favorites. One is that Lord of the Rings new TV series. It just got started with
The Rings of Power.
We watched the first two episodes, and my younger son was saying that he saw a bunch of people who were kind of
review bombing.
Yeah, and I was like, why? I thought this was really good.
Because idiots don't like black people. That's the bottom line.
I didn't have any idea that there was that.
Well, people got really upset that they're calling it woke and all this shit because it's got people of color in it. And
that's ridiculous.
It's completely ridiculous. And so there's a lot of people who are hating on it for that reason. And they say it's like a betrayal of Tolkien's vision and all this kind of stuff. And
That's just preposterous.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure some things out. It's like the small characters in there that I don't know what they call them. I can't remember what they call them in this series, but I'm wondering if they're like the predecessors of the hobbits, because even their last names or something like that, Longfeet or whatever,
So I'm going to throw out a prediction here, and spoilers if you haven't seen the first episode, so it's not really that spoilery. But if you haven't seen the first episode of The Rings of Power, it's
Watch
spoilers.
it.
There's this dude who crashes from a meteorite at the end of the episode. My working theory is that that's Gandalf.
That's what I told Peter.
Yeah.
That's my younger son. Yeah, that's what I was.
Because it would make sense. It would be a way for them to bring back that he's so fond of hobbits because hobbits helped him in the first place. And
Well, I thought about that because he was talking to the fireflies, but then the fireflies died. So that's when I thought, well, maybe not.
yeah, Owl City got really sad.
Well, and I actually do have another one. You'll like this one.
Yeah.
I just finished like episode 840 something of One Piece, and I just finished the arc with Todoland with
Whole Cake Island.
If you haven't watched One Piece, you need to watch One Piece. It's really good.
Yeah, it's really funny because One Piece is my favorite just thing, period. And I got my brother into it, who got my mom into it, and then got my dad into it.
So yeah, it's good. But so those are my weekly favorites.
Well, I think we should wrap it up for this week,
Yeah, I think that, we're not going after any kind of time schedule or that kind of stuff. So every podcast may be a little bit different on that front, at least until we get the rhythm. But I encourage you to, if you're on a journey to success or you just want to pursue it, encourage you to tune in and tell your friends. And thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Oh, you too.
Yeah. I love you, Dad.
Love you too.
We'll see you guys next time.
Same podcast time, same podcast channel. That's old.
You're old. So,
anyways, thanks.
you're welcome.
This violet sky, I've seen it before. It turns truth into lies. Oh, but I won't.